Now we will understand what are the export procedures. See, we understood the important terms which are being used, so I would be using those terms when I am explaining the export procedures. Now there are various steps involved in export procedures. So let's start with step number 1. What is the step number 1? See, you receive an inquiry from the importer. So what you will do, you will send him the quotations. So you will send him a pro forma invoice, that is a brief about the quality, quantity of goods and the amount you are going to charge. Okay, so this would be a sample invoice, I can say, which you are going to send. Now you will receive order. So that would be the second step, receipt of order or indent. Okay, now the third would be, you need to assess the credit worthiness of an importer and secure guarantee of payments. Remember, when we are doing export, we are dealing with an unknown country and we are dealing with an unknown importer, unknown buyer, right? Now the thing is, most of the times there are no face-to-face meetings. Everything happens on email or maybe through a call, such as using Skype or other things. So it is necessary that you ensure that the person to whom you are selling has the credit worthiness in the market, and hence you will assess the credit worthiness of the importer before promising him that you will sell the goods, and you will also secure guarantee of payments if required. So you would demand the letter of credit, which we earlier discussed. Okay, now once that is done, the next procedure would be to obtain a export license. Okay, now generally remember, although in the steps we are doing in this manner, an exporter or a person, a business organization, once they decide that they have to go and export, or they wish to enter into the business of export, then they will start doing the procedure which is required for getting a export license. So what they will do now, export license, for getting an export license you have to first open a bank account. This would be with a bank that has been authorized by RBI for carrying out export trade. Then you have to obtain IEC. Now what is that? This is known as Import Export Code, popularly known as IEC. Now this we will get from Directorate General of Foreign Trade, that is DGFT, or we will get from the Regional Import Export Licensing Authority. So I need to get the IEC after I have opened my bank account. Then I will register with the appropriate Export Promotional Council, that is EPC, depending on what kind of goods I intend to sell. So there are various export promotion councils for different goods in the country. Now this would be necessary because EPC safeguards you in case there is a non-payment. Now comes the step number 5. What is step 5? You need to obtain pre-shipment finance. To carry out the order, obviously you require finance. So you can obtain the pre-shipment finance after you have received the letter of credit. The bank will finance your export order. Okay, now what is the step number 6? This is nothing but the step of producing or procuring goods. Now you have done the basic formalities. So next step is to ensure that you start producing the goods so that you can deliver to the importer on time. The goods have to be produced as per the specification of goods. Now remember, in the international trade, the quality is checked thoroughly. Okay, so even if there is a minute mistake in the goods you have produced, let's say when you are exporting saris, okay, so that's a traditional Indian wear, but the importer has asked for a certain print. Even if there is a 0.01% deviation from the print which was being given, the goods are liable to be rejected. And when the goods get rejected because of quality, the exporter has to bear a tremendous loss. Okay, so ensure that the goods are of specified quality. Next comes your pre-inspection, pre-shipment is inspection. Now what is this step? The government wants to ensure that the quality of goods is maintained. So the Export Quality Control and Inspection Act of 1963 requires that the inspector comes and inspect the goods which you intend to export. So the pre-shipment inspection happens here. Then you get your excise clearance. What is this? You need to apply to the excise commissioner with an invoice that you are not using these goods for internal trade, but these goods are for export. So based on that, you will get your exempt or refund from excise duty. Now you need to obtain certificate of origin. Remember, I told you if you are manufacturing the goods, there would be a certificate of origin which would be issued, okay, that the goods are coming from this country, that is India. So here you will have to obtain a certificate of origin. Now remember, apart from telling that from which place the goods are coming, certificate of origin becomes necessary because you get various tariff concessions or exemptions which are laid down by the government. So if the goods are from particular country, many a times when they are imported, let's say if the goods are from India and UK has developed a policy that if certain goods are coming from India, they would be entitled from tariff concessions. So what tariff they are charging to other countries, the same won't be charged to the goods from India. So these, if you want to get these concessions, the certificate of origin becomes important. Now the importer will ask for certificate of origin because he wants to get the benefits, that is, he wants to get the exemptions which are there in his country. Now let's move further. Reservation of shipping space. Obviously when you are manufacturing the goods, you want to ship them. Now it's not that today you manufactured and tomorrow you can just go ahead and ship them. You require to book the shipping space well in advance. So you have to reserve the shipping space. This is step number 10. So what you will do, you will go to the company and say, I want this much shipping space, these are my containers, this is the product which I want to send, and this is the destination where I want to send. So you will specify the date, the type of goods and the port of destination. Now remember, the containers differ. If the goods are perishable, have certain kind of perishability. See, sometimes what happens, you may be sending goods such as which are related to frozen foods. Okay, now they require a different treatment compared to garments. If you are exporting garments, so they have a different kind of containers which needs to be used. So that is the reason you need to give entire information when you are reserving the ship. Now shipping company would issue a shipping order. So once they accept, yes, we are ready to give you the shipping space in our ship, they will issue a shipping order. Then comes the packaging and forwarding. So you will need to properly pack the goods as and when they are required. You need to mention the details which are required on the package. Now if the goods are transported to the port by railways, then there would be a railway receipt which has to be in hand, which has to be kept in hand. Okay, see, remember that you are manufacturing, let's say, in a small town. Okay, from there you have to reach to the port which is in Bombay. So let's say if you are manufacturing in Latur, okay, from Latur it has to reach to the port which is in Bombay. So many a times exporters will use the facility of railways. Now railways provide this facility that it will ensure that the cargo reaches the port in Mumbai. So they will issue this railway receipt which is required, so that the port of shipment, that is the place from where the goods would be shipped, is reached. Okay, and railway ensure that your cargo reaches that port of shipment. Now the exporter will endorse the railway receipt in favor of agent who is taking the delivery at the port of shipment. Why? Because the railways would only give the goods to the person who has that railway receipt, and hence the exporter has to endorse the railway receipt in the hands of the agent, in the name of the agent. Then comes your 12th step, which is insurance of goods. So you have to ensure that the goods are insured against the perils of sea during transit. If you are sending the goods by air, then against the damages which can happen during that air transport. So you have to get the requisite insurance from the insurance company. Now let's move further and let's see the next step, that is the customs clearance. This is step number 13. See, you have to ensure that your goods are cleared from the customs before you load onto the ship. If you are unable to do so, then the customs will not allow you to load the ship and you will miss your delivery. So you have to prepare a shipping bill. Okay, there would be 5 copies which would be prepared along with certain documents. What are those documents? That is your export order. So you need to have the shipping bill, along with that the export order, a letter of credit, the commercial invoice, certificate of origin, certificate of inspection wherever necessary, and your marine insurance policy. So all these documents will have to be presented before the custom appraiser at the customs house. Okay, imagine or remember in this way that custom appraiser is nothing but a customs officer who will clear the goods from customs. Now the superintendent would be approached for concerned port trust for getting the carting order. Okay, now what is a carting order? This is an instruction which is given by the superintendent to the staff which is standing at the gate of the port to permit the cargo inside the port. Okay, so once I get the customs clearance, I need to go to the superintendent and ask him to give me a carting order. Now once the carting order is received, then the cargo would be moved into the port area and it would be stored at appropriate shade till the time the shipping starts or the ship moves from the port of shipment to the port of destination. Okay, now what is the next one? You have to obtain a mate receipt. See, once your goods are there on the port, then they will start getting loaded in the ship. So after the loading is done, the captain or the assistant, that is known as the mate, will issue a mate receipt to the port superintendent. Okay, remember this will be given to the superintendent of the port. Once that is done, you will have to pay the freight and you have to issue a bill of lading. Now let's understand what is that. Remember, everything would be done here by the clearing and the forwarding agent, okay, who would be appointed by the exporter. Now what this clearing and forwarding agent will do? He will surrender the mate receipt which he got it from the ship captain of the ship, okay, and he will surrender this to the shipping company for freight computation. Now once the shipping company computes the freight, then they will issue a bill of lading. If you are doing it by air, that is if you are sending your goods, exporting the goods by air, then the airways would issue a airway bill. Okay, what is this? This is nothing but a evidence that the goods have been accepted by the shipping company and they have to now be carried to the port of destination. Okay, now the next step is preparation of the invoice. In this you have to prepare an invoice about the goods which are dispatched. Okay, then you will state in that invoice the quantity of goods which has been sent, what is the amount of goods which is being sent. Post that, the clearing and the forwarding agent will get the goods, will get the invoice duly attested. Now the next step would be securing the payment. Now all the export procedure has been done, so now you need to secure your payment which you are supposed to receive from the importer. So you will inform the importer that your goods have been shipped. Okay, then the importer will have to prepare a set of documents for clearance in his country. Now what are those documents? First, a certified copy of invoice, okay, a bill of lading, the packing list, that is a packaging list, insurance policy, certificate of origin and letter of credit. So all these documents have to be prepared by the importer. Once the exporter informs him that yes, the goods have been shipped, then he will send the documents through banker, okay, which would be delivered after the acceptance of bill of exchange. So once he accepts the bill of exchange, he will send the documents to the bank, that is through his banker, and then the documents will be, remember at times the condition would be that the documents are handed over only against the payment. Okay, that is when the exporter demands for a site BOE. So there are different kinds of bills of exchange. One would be a normal, wherein the bill of exchange is presented, the documents are presented and the payment is received. But sometimes, most of the times, this is the site BOE, that is site bill of exchange, which is being used. Okay. Now, this has been a very lengthy process which we saw, a lengthy steps which we discussed. Now, for remembering for exams, the best is to remember the flow chart. So, we have the flow chart on the first and the second slide. Both of them are in continuity. To remember this, remember the flow chart that the first step is concluding your export deal, that is getting the order from the importer. Simultaneously, you will enter into manufacturing the goods, arranging for export finance and appointing a CNF agent. Now, once you have done that, you will arrange for cargo insurance, you will book the shipping space, okay. Then you will dispatch the goods to the CNF agent, and also you will have to send the documents to CNF agent. Once that is done, you will the documents would be received by the CNF agent, you will get the customs clearance, the port formalities would be done by the CNF agent and the goods would be loaded in the ship. After that, the CNF agent will send the documents to the exporter and the exporter will send the shipping advice to the importer, and then the exporter can claim the export incentive. Sometimes your goods get that export incentive which I explained you earlier. So, the importer will go and get the export incentive, or he will go and present the documents to the bank for getting the money. That is, the exporter will go and present the documents to the bank for getting the requisite money.